Today, we're doing something a little different. We're not just going to talk about a team, we're going to use data to tell their story. We're taking a deep statistical dive into the CCO's SHOCKWAVE to figure out what the numbers really say about them. And believe me, their story kicks off with one single, powerful number. Yep, we're starting right here, with the number that matters most in pretty much any sport. For the SHOCKWAVE, that number is 0. That's how many major trophies they've won, period. It's pretty stark when you see it like that, isn't it? So your first thought might be, okay, 0 trophies, this is a story about failure. But is it really that simple? Well, the data suggests there's something way more complex and, frankly, more interesting going on here. Let's see what happens when we look past that big, fat 0. All right, to really understand this team's journey, we need to set a baseline. So let's just look at their overall record across every single game they've ever played. Okay, so you can see here, out of 53 total matches, they've got a win rate of just under 42%. Now, this isn't the profile of a team that's just getting hammered every game. This is the sign of a competitive, solid, middle-of-the-pack kind of team. You know, a team that can absolutely beat anyone when they're on their game. But here's where it gets fascinating. That overall number, it's actually hiding a huge split. The SHOCKWAVE basically transformed depending on which tournament they're playing in. Let's break that down a bit. First, let's look at the BBL, the league's main T20 competition. And, well, they really struggle here. A win rate just under 38% across almost 30 matches. That's a pretty big weak spot. I mean, they made the semis once, but just couldn't seal the deal. Now watch this. Compare that to how they do in the Reboot Cup, which is a straight knockout T20 tournament. Suddenly, their win rate jumps by almost 10% to over 47%. It's like a different team shows up. This is clearly a format where they feel right at home, and they've even made it all the way to a final. And this chart just lays it out perfectly. When you see them side by side, the Reboot Cup is their clear favorite. For some reason, when that knockout pressure is on from ball 1, this team just seems to click and find a whole other gear. So who's actually driving these results? You know, a team's performance is really a story about its players. So let's look at the data for the key individuals who make up the heart and soul of the SHOCKWAVE squad. First up is the absolute anchor of their batting lineup, a guy who just consistently, reliably puts runs on the board, Duncan Faulkner. Faulkner is the definition of a dependable top-order batsman. We're talking 775 runs, 8 half-centuries. He's the backbone. But then, look at that high score. 99. Even their star player has a story of being so incredibly close to a huge milestone, only to fall just short. It's kind of the perfect metaphor for the team itself, isn't it? So while the batting is consistent, their bowling attack has a player with numbers that are genuinely elite. We have to talk about Alan Brown. First, just take in this number. In his time with the team, Alan Brown has taken 55 wickets. That is a massive, massive haul. But this is the stat that should really make you sit up and pay attention. His bowling average is an incredible 7.27. So what that means is for every single wicket he takes, he only gives up about 7 runs. That is absolutely world-class territory. So here's the key takeaway from this. With a reliable run machine like Faulkner and a truly elite, game-changing bowler like Brown, the SHOCKWAVE clearly have the talent they need to win. The pieces are definitely there. Which brings us right to the central theme of this team. We've got the context, we've met the key players. Now let's look at the story the data tells when the pressure is at its highest. You see, this is the pattern. Time and time again, they get to the pointy end of a tournament. They were runners-up in the Season 3 Duality Cup, lost in the semis of the Season 3 BBL, runners-up again in the Season 5 Reboot Cup. See, they don't just crash out in the first round. They consistently make it to the final stages and then stumble at the very last hurdle. And no loss, absolutely none, shows this pattern more painfully or more perfectly than that Season 5 Reboot Cup final. They had a fantastic run just to get there. They comfortably beat the Crushers, then they scraped through this nail-biting 1-run victory against the Pirates in the semifinal. So they were in form, they were battle-tested, and they were ready to face the Bashers in the final. And this was the result. They lost the final by a single run. After a whole tournament, it all came down to the smallest possible margin. It is the ultimate story of almost. So after digging through all of this data, What's the final verdict on the Shockwave? What is their true identity according to the numbers? The data doesn't describe a failure. Not at all. It describes the contenders. This is a talented team, they have a format where they excel, and they prove over and over that they are good enough to challenge for trophies. They just haven't found that final, crucial piece to turn all that incredible potential into a championship.
And that leaves us with one last big question. The stats have laid out the problem in perfect detail. This is a team of contenders that just can't seem to take that final step. So, looking back at everything we've seen today, what do you think is the missing piece of their puzzle?